Hey everybody, Rex Bear Leak Project. How the heck are you? So I just got back last night from a place called Bandelier, New Mexico. And in that area, very mysterious. The mystique is amazing. There are these cave dwellings, these catacombs essentially that have been built into the cliffside. And it reminds me of a giant anthill. Now you've heard the prophecies about the ant friends, the Anunnaki, that saved humanity from a cataclysmic event, took them to catacombs inside of the earth, and then when things got back to normal above ground, they came back out and flourished. Well, if you go to these places like Sankawi, New Mexico, or Bandelier, New Mexico, modern archaeologists are saying some of these structures could be 12,000 plus years old. I think they could be far older than that. And there is what looks like, when you get to Bandelier, New Mexico, a statue, like a weathered statue of a non-humanoid being. At one angle, it looks very similar to these reptilian statues and tablets and figures and hieroglyphics and images that have been either etched in stone, depicted in some way, shape, or form. I'm going to show you the images in a moment. They're mind-blowing. Before I do, I want to give a huge shout out to TrumpCoin2020.com. I got my friends over at Noble Gold to give $30 off the Trump pack. Check this out. $30 off. Leak Project 30. Leak space Project space 30 gets you $30 off. Now, this is a 10 ounce, just look at that bad boy, 10 ounce silver bar. Not only is it silver, but it's limited. And you also get the Trump coin with this. You get the Trump coin limited. They're not going to make these forever, folks. And whether you love them or not, they're collectible and it's silver. So check it out. TrumpCoin2020.com. Use the code LEAK space project space 30. Get $30 off. Hello. All right, now let's get into the fun stuff, shall we? Here we go. This right here is the image of that rock anomaly that looks like a weathered statue. To the right is a samurai clay figure that has been shared with us thanks to Hiroshi Hayashi. He put together a wonderful 3-hour presentation on his YouTube channel. I'm going to leave a link in the video description box. I invited him on the program. I'd love to have him on the show. He found this in the Horyuji Temple, which is in Japan. Now, that temple was built between 5 and 600 AD, which would put this at about 1,500 years old if it was made at that time. Unless it was handed down from generations previous, let's put the timestamp on this at about 1,500 years. Now, to the left, that area out there in Bandelier, clearly there's been a lot of damage from weather and just the elements. So you can't get an absolute if this is pareidolia or if this is actually a genuine structure, a genuine statue. But if you go to that area, what is so interesting, here's another shot. This is the clay figure you can see right here. This was out of the video, so I'm going to leave that video. Watch the video. Here's another good image, and then you can see to the right are these Sumerian figures of what looks like a reptilian mother feeding her baby. And you can see that there's very similar features, and it looks like the top was broken off of this figure in Horyuji Nara, Japan. So just look at that. And then check this one out. And then this one's in Anana, Urk, Horyuji Nara to the left. Very similar indeed. I want to show you this also because this is out there in Bandelier. And you'll notice this petroglyph that's been etched in stone, and it looks like a little lemming, doesn't it? It looks like a lemming. It's got 3 antennae. It's got a square-like head, and its body very lemming-like. And it's right next to this opening that is, I don't know, that's a good 20 feet up, I'd say. 15, 20 feet up from the ground, and there's no There's nothing that leads to it from the outside, and it's so small you're not going to fit in there. And all of these catacombs and entrances, and they're so small that they're either for really, really small people, which the natives do talk about the small people, or these small people are lemming-like. And that would possibly explain why there isn't written language from that time, why language doesn't show up, or even many of these petroglyphs doesn't show up until thousands of years after the fact. Now, here's another image which is interesting because you'll notice that I've seen this in many places. This looks like it's an entrance or some type of upside down mountain. And I think this is showing that somewhere thousands of years ago, hundreds of years ago, however long ago this was put in there, this was showing an entrance to the inner earth. This is an entrance to the inner earth. I see these on many petroglyphs, and some of them, they're the opposite. They're pointing upwards, like a mountain in a specific area, or many of these monuments that you see that are kind of like Monument Valley, that area. If you think of Monument Valley, you'd think of, but they're a little bit more, they're not up quite as high and quite as thin. They're usually a little bit thicker, but some of these areas, like in Newspaper Rock, I think it shows a place where they actually went inside to get to the inner earth. So many anomalies out here. And you'll notice all of these, like at one time there must have been wood poles and tarp systems. And then I've also noticed there's these crosses that look like they've been etched in there, which could have been done via the Spaniards or something, you know, when they were, because this is kind of close to the Spanish Trail, I think. Or it could have just been from some Crusaders. But when you look at the actual, this one right here, I'm going to show you another one that looks very similar to this, which is in New Mexico, which I think this could be a depiction of the ant people, like this one right here. This one was closer to Albuquerque. This one was taken closer to Albuquerque. There's an entire park out there with hundreds of petroglyphs, and I think this one's very similar. This might be one of those ant people. Now, a lot of the petroglyphs are showing what they were seeing in the heavens, what they were seeing with these plasma vents and solar flares and comets, asteroids, anomalies in space, but not all of it. And how do you prove that? Well, look at all the animals. Look at all the livestock. Look at what some people would say could be dinosaurs, different fish, different hunters, etc. So it's not just what's in the skies. It's also what's down here. So this was in Albuquerque. And then this one is in Sankawi, which Sankawi is not as known about as Bandelier, and I think it's every bit as cool, if not even cooler. It doesn't have those really high up areas like the one in Bandelier where you have to go up about 150 feet to get to via just vertical with ladders, but it's still really cool. This is the one that I want to show you, and you can see it looks like some Crusaders were putting in the crosses there. Right up here, you see that's the biggest guy. This guy has antennas. He's waving, he's saying hello. And then if you look in the middle, that's your average sized Joe. Let's just put it that way. That's your average sized Joe. And he's waving too. He's like, hey, how's it going? You notice he doesn't have the antennas. His head is smaller. It's more like a human head. It looks like a human head, just somebody saying hello. And looks like somebody, unfortunately, I mean, there's a lot of damage that's been done. But then look at this guy, little ant dude. This looks like Junior, Ant Junior. So you've got the big guy waving, and then you've got a human, and then Ant Junior. So then you might ask the question, is this going to be similar to other, I guess, as far as nature is concerned, if you look at certain insect populations, it goes in there's a certain archetype, and there's a certain pyramid of control. It's like survival of the fittest, whether it's animals, mountain sheep fighting for who's the head honcho. But I think most of these ant beings, at least if you looked at these caverns, are not very big. So this is either the tribal leader saying hello, and that, you know, the antenna are his feathers that represents his superiority or senior authority. And then you've got somebody that's like, they're jiving, they're working together. They're working together, which I think is really cool. But this guy right here, I think these are the workers. I think these are the worker beans, the worker ants that make up the majority of this species. And if you think about, so Anunnaki literally means ant friend in Hopi. Isn't that interesting how Anunnaki are ant beings that helped humanity in Hopi prophecy? And if you look at Anunnaki in Babylonian mythology, Babylonian religion and scriptures, they're connected to the planets, and they're connected to oftentimes giants and manipulators of genetics. Very interesting. So a lot of this stuff has gotten merged together. Now let's go back to, I want to show you, I'm going to look at the even cooler stuff here. All right, so boom. This is the website specifically that I was talking about that you want to check out. So this is the gentleman right here, Hiroshi Hayashi. Check out his YouTube channel. I'll leave the link in the video description box. That is the actual video. This is just a quick background on the temple that they found those clay figures, or that this gentleman made the discovery. And he's saying in this video, they're not even supposed to talk about that stuff in Japan. They don't teach it. It's frowned upon if you talk about ETs or UFOs or reptilians or anything extraterrestrial, he said, basically. So I thought that was interesting. So good for him. I give him major props for coming out and talking about this kind of stuff. But I want to show you, these are the actual photos that I took. So we're going to look at some of these images here. We'll start off with this one. And at this angle, it looks like either a reptilian type being, or almost like the Ajiji, like a bird being sitting upright. Looks more bird-like combination. Now, I don't think it's fair to give these beings either name. That'd be like them calling us, that Rex, he looks like a chimpanzee. You know, that Rex, he looks like a baboon. I mean, that would be like them calling us something that we're not. So they're very unique. I'm just using that as a reference because that way most people can, because we've got the reptilian mind. Our DNA is not far from a baboon or a monkey or a dolphin. We're pretty close. A pig. So, yeah. All right. I'm divagating. First image here. Look at the outline. Pretty cool. And so this is the area. This is walking up to the area. You'll notice some of these catacombs that are built into the cliffsides. Doesn't that look like something that a lemming could build, or an ant, like a giant anthill? And then you can see that after this cataclysm, people that survived came out of the inner earth and started to rebuild and retrofit these caverns. And I think that the ant people decided to stay inside. They're like, no, we're not coming back out. It's more comfortable down here. We're more comfortable inside of here. So this looks like, right here, if you look in this, these openings are very small. And some of them are so small you're not gonna fit into. So here's the image. If you look closely, you'll see it. This is like here, let's go. Wrong way. Look at this image for a minute. Let's zoom in here. Looks like there's a mouth that's been carved. It looks like an eye. Looks like it's got the same headdress. And it almost looks like that headdress is connected to a ponytail. And I don't know how much weathering's happened, how old this thing is, but I would say it's well over 12,000 years old. Or it's just a rock. So, and it could be. We'll zoom out. Let's go to the next one. This is interesting right here. Check this out. So notice how there is some type of irrigation system that goes up that entire cliff. They managed to smooth that out where it's either for water to run down. I think that was what it was for, is for water to run down. Or they had some type of step system, but most of the step systems are different, and I'll show you that in a moment. See that? Kind of looks like a nostril, doesn't it? And there's Fred. Okay, so here's the statue again. This is a different angle. This is a closer image of it. Different angle. Now it looks more bird-like to me. With that said, the weathering could have caused the body to erode to the point to where now it looks like on the left side of him. See, that to me almost, it looks like a crusader. Like you would see this chess piece of a crusader that is wearing an iron mask that just shows the nose and the eyes. But it could have been broken off and it was actually a part of the shoulder, the left shoulder and the arm. Or it could be another being. Or once again, it could just be a rock. But look at this. Looks like the mouth, looks almost like a beak. You got the eye, you got the headdress. It's a pretty long neck. So then, think about that petroglyph that I just showed you. Let's go back to the petroglyphs that we were just looking at. Where are we at? Right here. This one. Look at the head. Look at the neck. Long neck. Interesting head. Antennas. Definitely antennas. And let's go to this one. Bing. Right here. See him? Same head. Same antennas. 3 antennas just like the other dude. 3 antennas. The same head. The same lemming-like body. And it's right next to an opening that would be perfect for a lemming. So then you ask yourselves, why don't we see more bones of these incredible beings? Well, if they have a hive mindset, they're going to collect and gather all of their people and take them with. And also, if they don't have bones like we do, they could break down faster and decay. And those that were on the outskirts, on the outside, in areas that could have been giant plasma events, cosmic bolts shooting down, those things can disintegrate anything. Dust. I think the main reason is, though, once again, is because of the hive mindset that they have. And then they have the king or the queen or both. It's like a monarchy. It's very similar to the monarchy structure here that we see now. Not in America. However, some people wonder if we're just an offshoot of certain monarchies. And you can even go back to the Sumerian king list, talking about how The gods descended from heaven, gave kingship from heaven. You can look at the bloodlines, the DNA, the possibility of reincarnation factors being connected to DNA, to bloodlines is a key for consciousness, control the narrative, etc. This is amazing. So look at this guy and then look at this guy. And then let's go back and look at this dude right here. Very similar to, very similar. Zoom in again. Look at that. Just let that sink in for a minute. Hello. No. Let's look at some more angles now. I think that's a good one. Now, do you see what I mean? On the left, it looks as if it's a knight. Looks like something's missing, though. The entire head could be missing right there. That could just be the body. I'm also thinking of that, the dark crystal. Remember that? I think that was Jim Henson. I think it looks like the dark crystal, those beings in the dark crystal. Wow. You know, that whole film is like this area. I mean, geez. The dark crystal. Wow. That's where it was. Now, if you look at it from this angle, there's a ton of weathering to the right of it. You can see, like, that doesn't even really appear to be anything. But it would have been something. This is surrounding the area. Oh my goodness. I've just, on a scale from 0 to 10, 10 being absolute, I'd like to hear what number you give this. I give it a 6, maybe a 6.5. And if you look at all the interesting caverns and catacombs around it, you might bump it up to a 7.5. Maybe, maybe 7, 7.5. I don't know. You might say, Rex, that is definitely something. I give that a 9. I give that a 9.5. You might say that looks like a 1, Rex. I'm giving it a 6.5. Final answer. No. Now, check this out. So when you go up, I don't know, I mean, it's just a few more minutes up this trail. Look at this community center they had down there. That was built far after, far later, I should say. Those aren't that old. I mean, I don't think those are even 1,000 years old. Yeah, they might be. They might be. Now, also, there were some petroglyphs that were difficult to see, but if you look carefully, you notice them, and a lot of them were from the sun symbols that you'll notice in the Four Corners area. And they're seeing this event in the heavens, and they're writing these spirals. This whole complex here. Imagine what this would have been like when it was finally, when it was just completed, when it was at its highest, most shining moment. What was the community like out there? What were they doing? See, look at this smiley face. There's like a human face right there. And then you'll see some of the spirals. There's some interesting carvings in there, but it's just so difficult to make out. And then you'll see here also the inner caverns, and then later when the natives came out of the inner earth and when they rebuilt, this is what they rebuilt. And then look at this. Look at these interesting lines that have been carved in deliberately. At one point, each one of these openings had a very unique purpose. And go out there. If you go out there and explore, and you need to go out there and explore. When you get out there, put yourself in the picture. Be like, why would somebody of my size go spend all the time to build all these caverns so perfect yet so small? And it looks like some of the stuff, I can just imagine these lemmings coming out and go, and they're talking with each other with antennas. They don't need to communicate. They don't need to write stuff down. They're just like, okay, get it done, because that's the way that they're designed. And then the master builder, you know, the chief of the tribe is out there being like, yes, do that, yeah. And they're out there working. And I mean, don't you just see it? Imagine lemmings, friendly lemmings that have intelligence yet are a part of a collective. So they do their job. They don't deviate like we do. They got their job, they're sticking with it. They're doing their task. They're intelligent, yet they're working in a collective. In America, which is what I love about America, we're all very unique and individual, and we enjoy the opportunity to be unique and individual. Some countries look at that as a sin. Some countries look at that as wicked and wrong. They're like, no, you need to be a part of us. Yeah, assimilate. And it's embedded in their DNA. So, and hey, that's fine. That's them. And that's their life, that's their mindset, that's their DNA programming. So, right on. That's cool. For some, it works wonderfully. And for others, they choose to have a little bit more unique flair and be somewhat eccentric. So, eclectic, bizarre, strange. Anyway, cosmic lemmings. This is amazing. This is amazing. America. Be excellent to each other, everybody. Doesn't matter where you're from, what you look like, what color your skin is, or your hair, or your eyes, or your religious beliefs or political beliefs, or if you don't have any. What are you doing as a person? What are you doing to be the change? And on that note, be the change you want to see.